the time and having helping us to help get the best experience of music that is technically possible today.
That's right.
So I guess with that, maybe we'll like say what the NuraTrue is and what makes it so special, right?
Absolutely.
So should we open one up?
Let's open it up and have a look, because I think people are dying to see it. I'm sure they've seen the Kickstarter page, but
so that's the NuraTrue Pro box. So very, very familiar for those of you who are familiar with the NuraTrue original version. So it's based on, basically we've taken all the good things about the NuraTrue and then turned a whole bunch of knobs up to 11. Right? Starting off with the design, we used a bit nicer plastics, nicer coatings on the plastics. The logo's got a nice ceramic highlight there now instead of just being plastic. Earbuds themselves looking
very good.
Well,
yeah,
I think they're looking very nice, right? So really stepping up the quality there and the build quality there over NuraTrue. A few people mentioned with the NuraTrue some problems getting them out. The trick is you push your thumb there and that pulls the edge up and makes it very easy to get it out there. So it's
not even I knew that.
In the bud. Yeah. So, what makes NuraTrue Pro special? So we had last year we launched our first truly wireless earbud, right? So we took all the hearing detection tech that's in a Nuraphone and makes Nuraphone and Nura's products in general special, shrunk that down so it could fit inside a true wireless form factor, right? An earbud form factor. And that was no small technical task to do that. So we were very proud to have been able to do that and deliver that product and the experience that product can deliver. And with the NuraTrue, we really wanted to get what we do well right, which was to make a really good sounding earbud. And we didn't want to try to put in too many bells and whistles and spend too much time on all the other features and risk trying to put in too much and get some things wrong, right? So we really made sure we had a really good sounding earbud, and which left some improvement to be made this year, which is all rolled into NuraTrue Pro. And so I guess NuraTrue Pro then evolved out of two motivations, right? So the first motivation is we looked at, well, NuraTrue sounds awesome, but what has changed in technology over the last 12 to 24 months that means we can legitimately step up the quality of the audio? And the answer to the question, that question really was two things that we identified. One was the latest Bluetooth chips being able to support lossless audio over Bluetooth. That is absolutely mind-blowing if you think of what Bluetooth used to be able to do 10, 15 years ago. The quality just was not there, right? And to have, like, you couldn't legitimately say good sounding Bluetooth earbud was almost a joke. And obviously Bluetooth's been evolving over that time, and we're now at the point where there is no difference between having, say, a USB connection and a Bluetooth connection. Now able to deliver exactly the same data to the earbuds and really step up the experience that you can get, and make sure that you're not missing all the things that older versions of Bluetooth have had you forcing to compromise on. Right? So everyone, like, the convenience of wireless earbuds, it's just undeniable. Anyone who's got them, which is most people now, like, they're just so convenient. But they do have trade-offs, right? And this is taking one of those big trade-offs, which is the compromise of sound, is just taken off the table now.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing we could do on the audio. The second thing is the latest chips. They're just magical, right? They literally double the audio processing power compared to the previous generation, or compared to the NuraTrue. And so we're like, okay, what can we do with that extra audio processing power? And they do that, by the way. They have twice as much processing power, but still use less power than them, even though they're doing twice as much.
Well,
so with that, like, okay, well, our hearing adjustments, there's not a useful way we could use that extra processing power. And we thought, okay, well, what takes a whole bunch of processing power and really does improve your audio? And then spatial processing is the obvious thing, right? So we've partnered with a Swedish company called Dirac, which specialise in they're absolute specialists in spatial audio in various implementations. And we tried solutions from a whole bunch of companies, and their one really stood out as something that sounded the most natural and appealing.
Yeah.
And like really stood up amongst the other people doing the same thing. Conceptually, spatial audio is quite straightforward, but actually get it right is tricky. Now, what do you need for spatial audio? You need to have both the left and right channels transmitted to both sides. So previously, or like on the NuraTrue, for example, the left and right channel gets transmitted to the right earbud, and then it only sends the left channel to the left earbud.
Okay.
Whereas now, both channels go to both sides, so left and right gets to both sides. And what that means is you can then, instead of you just playing the right channel to one ear and the left channel to the other ear, you can now spatialize, do the processing to spatialize, or what we call spatialize or virtualize the sound.
Wow.
Why would you want to do that?
Why would you want to do that? Yeah. Why do I want spatial audio? What's so special about it?
Because most music's not made with headphones playing right channel, left channel. Most music is made with speakers. Speakers monitors sitting on a desk with a right speaker and a left speaker. And when your right speaker plays music, most of it goes to the right ear, but a little bit goes around your head and goes to the left ear, and a little bit bounces around the room and goes to both ears in indirect ways, right? And so if you want to recreate what the person who was originally mastering the music was hearing, you can't just play the right channel to the right ear.
No.
And so that's what the spatialization stuff is, what the spatial audio is all about. So there's a bit of Apple where you've got head tracking. I think we don't have head tracking or anything like that. No head tracking,
gotcha.
So it's just what we call static spatial audio. But the advantage is that it's compatible with absolutely any form of stereo sound. So any stereo sound for music, any stereo sound for Netflix or whatever, is going to instantly work with this thing. And then it's actually the same problem for music and video. If you're making music, you have a right channel and a left channel, and a right speaker and a left speaker. And if you're listening to a TV, you have a right speaker and a left speaker. And you could have more complicated things, but fundamentally right speaker and left speaker, right? You are meant to have the things mixed.
Yes.
So it's pretty exciting stuff. And then so each of these technologies by itself, though, what do you get from having lossless? You're really pushing out that last 5-10% of quality.
Yeah.
And what do you get from? We have actually tweaked our hearing detection and automatic EQ settings, or the way that we do that. It's now 20% faster.
Great.
And I'd say, maybe it's 5 or 10% better. Then the spatial processing, again, you're getting an extra 5 or 10%, maybe a bit more, maybe even 20% for the spatial. It's is actually quite good. And so it's these 5 or 10% in a whole bunch of areas that adds up to really step the experience up to another level and ensure you are getting the most direct line to the feeling and the emotion and the passion and whatever you are getting out of your music is giving you the direct line to it.
Yeah. You're getting as close as possible to that soundscape that they created, and you're getting as close to that purpose as possible. Yeah. It's really cool.
So for me, that's the most exciting things about the NuraTrue Pro. Then there's a whole bunch of what I call convenience features where we did, now that we've got a solid base to build off in the NuraTrue, now let's build off that base and really bring up all the other features to match or exceed best-in-class alternative products, right? So what have we added? We've added, we've stepped up the Bluetooth from Bluetooth. We've stepped up the Bluetooth 2, the absolute latest, Bluetooth 5.3. Added multi-point connectivity, so you can be connected to your laptop and your phone at the same time. Awesome. Until we had prototypes doing this, I'm like, it doesn't seem that important. But then, as soon as we had it, wow, this is...
Once you got it, you love it.
I'm not going back. It's it's awesome. Such a small thing, but absolutely awesome. We've added the voice calls. So one thing that's always been a little bit of thorn in my side has been the voice call quality on the NuraTrue. So it's great in like quiet environments, things like that. And for most people in quiet environments, where it falls over is, and that was fine during COVID because everyone was working from home and there wasn't much cars and things like that. And if you take it out in the street now, though, it doesn't cut the mustard in those high noise environments. And that's where with the NuraTrue Pro, we've taken it from 2 microphones that we use in the original NuraTrue, and we've now got 4 microphones in each earbud. Right, it's a total of 8 microphones, including a bone conduction microphone, 1 on each side. And that bone conduction microphone lets you do some really cool things with the processing. So first of all, it helps you know when you're talking. It's kind of like when you mute and unmute yourself on a Zoom meeting or something. And and in higher noise environments, you can use it to take the low frequency content, right? So basically, it's kind of like put your hand on your throat whilst you're talking.
Yeah.
Have some words.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
You can feel like the whole of your skin vibrating when you're doing that, right? And those vibrations transmit all the, by various pathways, transmit up, into your ears, and you can't feel it when you put your finger on your ear, but like it is vibrating there, and the sensors in these things can detect that. And external noise does not create that vibration.
Gotcha.
Because it doesn't couple with your skin very well.
It's really isolated.
So you really just get the person's voice. Now, in quieter environments, you don't really want that because it sounds more natural coming from just a normal microphone. But as soon as you start getting into moderate and higher noise, you've just got this super clean low frequency signal without any noise from the environment, and it's really, really good.
Yeah, I must say, a lot of the feedback we used to receive was, about the voice call quality. So I think having that bone conduction is going to be really sought after for a lot of people, myself included. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I think when I was putting them through their paces the other day, I called the guys who did the tuning for us, and I called them whilst I was getting off the plane just to see how they're going. They sounded a bit heart sunk. They're like, You're not that clear. I don't know. Like, I think we might need to do some more work. I'm like, I'm standing 10 meters away, walking across the tarmac, and they're like, okay, it's not that bad. It's in that context, it's doing a good job, right?
Yeah.
So pretty happy with that. Back on the features, what we got? We got wireless charging, pretty straightforward. Just drop that on any the wireless charging pads you use for your phone or anything, and easy.
Yeah.
And we've doubled the charging speed for the if you plug in the USB-C cable, we've doubled that charging speed, right?
That's impressive.
I find when I use them, or when I use my NuraTrues, the earbuds themselves basically never go flat. They only go flat when my case goes flat.
Yeah.
And I don't have a lot of patience, and I don't have a routine where I plug it in every night. So really being able to power into the case battery very quickly, really works for me. Right? And I think it worked for a lot of people.
I think so. I think it definitely will. Yeah.
So wireless charging's a bit slow. It's actually basically the same speed as the NuraTrue charges now. It's a bit slower than if you use the wired cable now. But if you're just putting it there at night time, wireless charge.
Don't think about it. That's there.
Yeah. What else did we add? The adaptive ANC.
Adaptive ANC. So, how's it different to say the ANC on a NuraTrue? Why's it better? Yeah.
So the NuraTrue has what's called static hybrid ANC, right? So I'm going to get a bit technical here, we may as well. I've got an hour. Let's just go deep. Static hybrid ANC is you have a microphone facing the ear, a microphone facing the outside world. In NuraTrue's got one microphone facing the outside world. And the microphone on the outside world, that's what most people think about when they think about ANC. Like you detect the noise, you try to work out what the anti-noise would be, and then you play it to the ear. And when you tune that, you tune it for a metal artificial ear in the factory at the time you make it, to fine tune for the variation of speaker and microphone, and it tries to give you the best outcome with your noise cancelling. What the adaptive ANC, so that's static feed-forward ANC, what the adaptive ANC does is basically do that process. You still do that in the factory to get the baseline right, but then it basically does that process itself all the time continuously. So it's always measuring from the inside mic, comparing the outside mic to the inside mic, saying it's actually got two outside mics now, but whatever, let's just pretend it's one. Always comparing the outside mic to the inside mic and saying, am I doing a good job? How could I do a little bit better?
Yeah.
And just changing it, fine-tuning itself. And this is really good if you walk from one noise environment, like say a plane with a lot of low frequency noise, it would say, well, I'm not doing a very good job in this low frequency. I'll change my tuning to fix that. And then if you move to a cafe, which is a completely different spectrum of noise, you'll say, well, now the bit that's not doing well is the high frequency bit here. I'm going to change my tuning a little bit to work better in that high frequency noise. And yeah, it actually seems to work quite well. It's quite interesting when you turn it on, you hear the ANC turn on, and then over the next few seconds, you hear the ANC like
thinking.
Well, you hear it just improving. Like it goes on, and you hear the world go quiet, and then over the next 5 seconds, it goes down a little bit, down a little bit, down a little bit.
Yeah.
And same thing when you walk into a different environment. Sometimes you'll hear, oh, it's not working so well, and then you'll hear it fix itself and quieten down the world. So. And
will it sort of adjust for the positioning in your ear as well, somewhat?
Yeah, that's the same sort of thing. If you like bump how it's positioned in your ear, that changes how it would need to be fine tuned, and it sorts that out.
Yeah. Lots of great features. Very welcome for a lot of people. We've got a couple of questions here, but are there any other key features that you want to talk about in NuraTrue Pro? We've covered the great ones, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like there's more. I feel like I'm forgetting them.
There's more. So look, it'll probably come to us as we go.
Yeah. Let's go through some questions and
we've got some questions.
Come through. Yeah.
Masha T22 asks, there's a few questions. So we've got no mention of a transparency mode. Will that be a feature? So I think that might be referring to social mode. So
yeah. So basically, every headphone company unfortunately calls transparency mode a different thing, right? So some people call it transparency, some call it ambient, some call it talk through. The Nuraphone was actually one of the first products to have this feature. It wasn't the first, it was amongst the first products to have this feature where there really wasn't a consistent naming convention for what the hell to call that. And so we decided, well, if you're wearing your headphones and you want to talk to someone, what you really want to do is be social with them, right? And so we set up our transparency mode. We called it social mode, and we set it up so if you touch the button, it first of all, it turns your music down by about 10 dB. So you can, because your music's pumping really loud, you can't hear them anyway. It turns your music down a bit, and it turns on those external microphones, passes through the sound. And that's been in every one of our products since we did a firmware update for the Nuraphone 6 months after its original launch.
That's right.
It is. We have changed the tuning of the social mode in the NuraTrue Pro a little bit compared with NuraTrue. So we've matched. Well, basically, it works a bit better up on slightly higher frequencies. Work a bit better, so it's cool. A little bit more natural, particularly when people are talking.
Very nice. So the answer being definitely have social mode or transparency mode, if you want to call it that. It'll definitely be there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We've got a couple of questions coming through. So we mentioned multi-point connections for the Bluetooth. So say if I've connected to my laptop and my phone, if I wake up on NuraTrue Pros, will they automatically reconnect to both?
Yep.
Perfect. That answers that question. Yes. So will this connection need to be manually noticed? Yeah. So automatic connections.
So the experience at the moment is the first time you do it, whenever you take the earbuds out of the case, they enter pairing mode, and you can find it on your phone. Actually, if you've got a Android, it does Google Fast Pair, so it basically pops up straight away on your phone. If you're on an iPhone, you have to click around the settings and find it. So that connects your first device. Then you either, while it's only got one device connected, when you take it out of the case for the first 2 minutes, it will also let you connect the second device. So then you can touch your laptop or whatever. Or you can push and hold both earbuds for 3 seconds, and that will also put it into pairing mode, and that lets you again do that initial connection of the second device. Or if you've already got a second device connected, it kicks off the second device and lets you connect a different second device. And yeah, after you've had that first connection to your laptop or your phone, then you just take it out, and then boom, both are connected within a second or two.
Very easy. Yeah.
And it seems to work a lot better with Windows than previous versions of these previous generations of these Bluetooth chips. We had, with some of our products that had problems with them automatically connecting to Windows very well, and these ones seem to be awesome. Like my Windows laptop normally beats my phone to get the connection in. So it's works really well.
Yeah, that's great. Got a couple more questions here. So I'm not sure if we talked about this feature, but we've introduced a Pro EQ option.
Yeah.
Via the Neura app. I've got a question about it, but how about we mention it briefly, talk a little bit about it.
Yeah.
What does it do?
Yeah. Sorry. Pro EQ. So basically this is a manual EQ that you can add on top of your hearing profile that we've made for you. So that automatic EQ that we make as a result of testing which frequencies you hear well, not so well. We think that's, for most people, that's the right thing to use, and most people shouldn't need to change that. There are some people, so if they're a bit more experienced with exactly what they like in a headphone, or it's normally people who've worked with sound, so people in the music production industry and things like that. Sometimes they want things tweaked a little bit, and audiophiles as well. Like people who've got lots of headphones, like know exactly what they want. If we're not quite giving them something they want, then this gives that option so that we can make it work for you, right?
Yeah.
So it's not a feature. We call it Pro EQ because it's not a feature that we expect most or encourage. Like we don't encourage most people to play with it. But if you know what you're doing, you know how to use an EQ, and maybe you already do that to some of your other headphones, then let you do that. But anyways, for me, it's closely modeled on the implementation in the Sony app.
Gotcha. Yeah. So optional extra for those who want it, but your hearing profiles sound pretty good without it, definitely. Someone has asked, Masha again, I think. So it's been announced for the NuraTrue Pro. Is it technically possible to bring it, say, to the Nuraphone, for example, or is that something that's probably not going to happen?
Yeah. Where, as a general principle, anything where an improvement that we've made for a future product can be easily backwards put onto a existing product, and then we like to do that. We like to do that work and give people the benefit, right? So there's a couple of things which we've done for NuraTrue Pro, which can relatively easily be applied to the NuraTrue. For example, there's some improvements to the driver that we made.
Yep.
So it's slightly lower distortion, slightly higher tolerance on the production, the frequency response of the production things. Makes your ANC a bit better, makes the sound quality a little bit better. Yeah, we took marginal gains here, right?
Yeah.
But, that's something any new NuraTrues will actually use the improved driver rather than the original one. And what was the other one we had with, the other relatively big one is the changes to the way that we do the hearing. So we've tweaked a few of the settings in the way that we do the hearing test. And those are going to be rolled out to existing NuraTrues as well, right? So existing NuraTrues are going to start calibrating that 20% faster as well.
Great. That's awesome.
So the sound, if you're on NuraTrue, it's actually being rolled out in phases actually right now as we speak.
Oh, great.
You may notice if you make a new profile on your NuraTrue, it might sound a little bit different.
Yeah.
And that's the improvement. You'll notice it's a bit quicker. Or you've been around with all the testing we've been doing in the office and things the last few weeks to make sure we're happy with that and make sure it's definitely a step forward.
It's definitely faster. I've got to say, way faster. And when it comes to those sorts of features being backwards compatible with other Neura products, would adjusting the EQ be something?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't actually answer the question.
Okay. There's lots of stuff to cover.
It was a long way of saying that's not a feature that we can easily put back into there. And the reason there is because of all that extra DSP power that's in the, all that extra DSP is audio processing power that's in the new chip. the NuraTrue Pro, if you set it up in the original NuraTrue is getting pretty close to the limits of what it can do.
Yep.
And in some configurations, you wouldn't be able to put you wouldn't be able to add or we think it's quite risky to add it. You're going to cause problems in some situations. So, yeah, we're not planning to put that backwards onto the Neura for any of the existing products, unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah.
But it will be a feature in all of our new products.
Yeah.
Not just the more premium ones. Okay, anything else that
Gotcha.
the maker is going to have from now on. Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, that's exciting to hear. Awesome. So let's see here. Masha says, haven't had a Nuraphone since it launched. Social mode is very useful. Happy to hear you back. Awesome. Any chance of an accessory case with a loop for the NuraTrue Pros to clip onto my keyring?
Oh, okay.
That's cool.
That's not something we had planned. There's been a few things like that where we have users work out things that you can buy that let you sometimes achieve stuff like that. We're going to do something like that, probably silicon or TPE wrap around or band or something around this bit, and then with a bit hanging off there. So there might be a kid's bracelet on Amazon or something that can be electric.
There might be DIY.
Not immediately. We'll think of some DIY solutions in the meantime and encourage the community to come up with some. Yeah. And if it's something that lots of people request, then we'll have a look at it to try to get you something.
Yeah, that's right. If
Sorry.
If any of you out there do have suggestions like that, or for any sorts of features or add-ons or whatever it is, always let us know, because feedback is a very, very important part of the development process at Neura. The development of the NuraTrue Pro and even the NuraTrue was very, community-based. A great beta testing program, alpha testing that preceded that. So suggestions, feedback, let us know.
And I think some of the times where the community feedback has been really useful has been for accessories, right? Because it's hard to guess what people will gonna want, because you don't know until you've run into the problem that means you need something else, right? So,
that's right.
With I think with Nuraphone, we originally had 6 different ear tips when you wanted replacement ear tips, and then due to community feedback, we said, well, actually, I don't want the 6. That's just a giant waste. Just send me the 2 I want. So we changed that. And with Neura Loop, some people with particularly waxy ears clog the mesh up quite regularly. And originally the mesh came with the ear tips and things, and again it was, well, I don't need to get 8 ear tips every time I want to replace the mesh, right? So we made that a separate thing as well, right? So for accessories, community feedback very much encouraged. Yeah,
very, very important for us. Got more questions coming through. I'm not sure if we touched on this one, but we're also supplying a Bluetooth transmitter as an optional accessory.
Yeah.
With NuraTrue. I think you've got a.
Yeah.
You've got a.
Here's one I prepared earlier.
That's right. What's it for? Why should I get it?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I guess we need to talk about some of the provisos of the lossless Bluetooth connection.
Yeah.
So you do need to. It doesn't work with every phone. You need to have a phone or a source device that can support sending the higher data rates that are required to give you the lossless level. Like, it's not like this lossless just magically happened. It happened from a lot of hard work by our friends at Qualcomm, who magically worked out a way to increase the amount of data that can be transmitted over Bluetooth reliably by I think it's 30 or 40%, something like that. It's a significant increase in the stable data transmission rate. And to enjoy that, you need to be using source devices that can transmit that, right? So right now, today, there are 0 phones in the world that can send the lossless Bluetooth. However, it's going to change probably next week. You might see phones launched. The first phones come out that can do be the aptX sources, and you'll see 6 or 7 of them come out across the rest of the year, and it'll be basically standard next year for flagship Android phones. Right?
It's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. Don't worry, it's an unheard of technology a couple of months ago, and it's going to be it's just such a game changer for what it lets a Bluetooth device, a Bluetooth headphone be. That it's going to come as a pretty big tidal wave soon. I think it's going to be very exciting. In the meantime, if you don't have a phone or you don't want to buy a new phone straight away, we've made this little dongle, which is a Bluetooth 5.3 dongle. I believe it's the first Bluetooth 5.3 dongle, which lets you transmit the latest and highest data rate of aptX Adaptive. Now that can transmit up to approximately 1 megabits per second, which is not quite enough to have a completely lossless signal, but it's about about 80% of a completely lossless signal if you use this transmitter. To put that into context, that's about 3 times the data rate that AirPods use, or twice the data rate of aptX, aptX HD devices. So it is a big step up. Not quite the lossless. If we could have delivered a lossless one, we would have. I don't think we'll be able to make a lossless dongle until probably mid next year.
Gotcha.
Or sometime next year, right? As soon as we can, we'll make one.
As soon as we can.
In the meantime, this is 80% of the way there, and definitely a big step up on if you don't have a phone that can do it, or you don't have or you want to play it from your laptop or something like that.
Yeah, having adaptive as an option there is great because it can handle the variability.
Yeah,
the signal might require. Right?
Yeah, so one of the big advantages of aptX Adaptive and aptX Lossless is that it while you've got it automatically compensates for the RF environment, radio frequency environment, or Bluetooth connection quality, right? So whilst you're within, say 3 meters, or like the testing we've done with, we don't have although you can't get the phones that support this at the moment, they do exist if you go to the right people's offices and things like that. And our testing with the phones that do support this aptX lossless is that as long as you're within approximately 3 meters of the phone, it stably does the lossless transmission rate. And then as you walk further away, if you go 5, 10, 15 meters away, it can't support the lossless transmission rate anymore. And so you're doing basically what aptX Adaptive does. Yeah. And as you walk further and further away, the data rate will be lower and lower and lower. And when you're 15 or 20 meters away, you'll be at the same thing, same as standard aptX or AAC or something like that.
Yeah. So it will maintain that constant connection for the whole time. Yeah.
And like the way to use this is, recommended way to use this: stick this in your laptop, and then have your phone connected at the same time. And with the multi-point, you can play music from your laptop and or tablet or whatever. And then if you get a phone call, the multi-point just deals with that, takes
easy.
over. Yeah, easy. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, are there any plans to make phones able to do like a charging pass-through? That's just one question we've had.
No.
That's okay. Yeah.
No, they're very complicated, surprisingly complicated to make. You can. This is USB-C. It comes with a USB-A to USB-C adapter. If you can get adapters, lightning cable to, lightning, we call it, the lightning connector to USB-C. You can get adapters like that, little adapters like that. You can plug this on this as well, and then you can stream it from your iPhone. Yeah. If you're into that.
Yeah. Some people have been a little worried about iPhone compatibility with the dongle, but with that adapter.
Yeah, with that adapter, it works.
It works perfect. Oh, awesome! There you go. So there was some concern there, but it should work with the dongle. Great stuff. What have we got here? We got another Nuraphone related question. If you
sure.
I get this one a lot actually when we do these live streams. Is that Nuraphone's been out for a little while now. Are there any plans to release a different version, or make any serious upgrades or something like that? Or
Yes.
Hey, you've heard it first here. Awesome.
But not this year, so you'll be waiting for next year.
Okay, so yeah, you've heard it here. Stay tuned.
Next time you see something teased on social media, then it's probably a good guess.
It's probably a good guess. Awesome. Yeah, I'm very happy to hear that too, actually. Great. Any plans to add any more colours to the products we've got? NuraTrue Pro or others included. We did the Brendan was asking me. He's a fan of the Fool's Gold edition of the NuraTrue. Any other colour plans or different sort of aesthetic changes we could do?
There are, but those I'll be tight-lipped about.
Okay, so we'll stay tuned. Maybe more teasers will come for that in the future. I don't know. That's all we can say. Good stuff. So yeah, people are still coming through on the live stream. I think with Gerald the Cat. Gerald the Cat is a regular on the live stream. Welcome
Gerald.
back. Yeah, he's just asking about the ANC being improved on the NuraTrue Pro. So we talked a little bit about that earlier in the video. So ANC being adaptive in the case for the NuraTrue Pro. So it'll adapt to both the positioning in the ear and also sort of the acoustic environment that you're in. It'll adapt to those factors. And
so that well, sometimes things look like buzzwords and that, right? But they do have specific meanings. So that adaptive, so it's going to be adaptive hybrid ANC. So it uses a feedback microphone, a feed forward microphone, and it's constantly analyzing how good a job it's doing and constantly fine tuning, which means that it's always, whenever you move into a different noise environment, it's always optimizing itself, right?
Awesome stuff.
And like just straight out of the box, it's better than NuraTrue. That's one bit in these current prototypes that I think we need to do a little bit better with, is the feed forward part of the ANC. Thanks to the adaptive bit, it still like beats a NuraTrue straight up, but I think we've got a little bit more room to improve for the final versions.
Very good. So I've got to admit, I'm not necessarily an audiophile. I love music. But I'm not like an audio engineer or anything like that. Will I notice lossless? Will I notice a difference straight away? Just yes.
Yeah. No. Sorry. I mean, yes, your question, and it's a good question, right?
Yeah.
So it's not the step up from compressed formats to lossless formats is something that it is not something that everyone's going to be able to hear straight out of the box, right? So basically, people who are trained, like people who work with music every day, can pick it, and they can pick it in various different ways, right? So when I do, there's lots of A/B tests and things you can do online to play with this. I think Tidal, the streaming service Tidal, had a lot of them online, a lot of variations of them online that you can go and have a play with if you want to test yourself. You do need to have the right. You need to be using relatively good equipment to make sure that you're not missing something because your equipment can't support it. For me, there's two ways that I tell the difference. The first one, like in about half of songs, it just sounds a little bit cleaner to me, without being able to put my finger on exactly what's. And I don't profess to be a golden ear or anything like that, right? So it's just my opinion is it just sounds cleaner. I can't pick any individual bit of what's different. It just sounds nicer, better. Nice. Then about half of other songs can pick it as, particularly on the sort of attack and decay of when an instrument comes in or a new lyric or something comes in. There's something wrong with the initial transient or the last bit of the transient that I can hear is different. And so pick it by doing that, right? Yeah. We've got guys in the office who have more backgrounds in music production in various parts of music production, and one of those guys, he picks it by the spatial imaging, right? So he says, like, he's actually pretty amazing with it. He's just like, no, that symbol was there, not there. That's the lossless one. Yeah. So yeah, different people of different levels of training and awareness will be able to detect different things, right?
Yeah.
if you want to like numerically quantify it, when Qualcomm first came out with aptX HD, they used to talk about, well, they were bragging, you know, the material was bragging, 50% of trained listeners can't tell the difference between this and a wired connection, right?
Right.
So aptX HD is about half the data transmission rate of aptX lossless. So, you know, in a very rough sense, you could say, well, as you go from aptX HD, where 50% of trained listeners can't really tell the difference, to, you know, completely lossless, where there is no difference. There's just no difference. Then for the average person on the street, are they going to immediately appreciate the difference? Maybe not everyone will, right?
Sure.
And this is where I sort of look back to when I was a kid, and I remember when I was 13 and we just got 128 kilobit MP3s. I'm like, I can't really hear the difference. What are you talking about, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, if I listened to that today, though, it would just be so blindingly obvious that, that this is not even music, right? This is just rubbish, right?
Yeah.
Well, this music has been corrupted, like, unspeakably, right? And I think as like what's happened over the last 10 or 15 years is we've been forced to compromise, and we've just made do with whatever the best version of trying to encode sound that's available at the time was, that matches the bandwidth requirements of the internet and the storage requirements of, you know, whether it was an iPod or now it's originally the iPods, now it's mobile phones, right?
Yeah.
These days, those limits are basically gone. Like if you can stream from if you're not, what would you be doing if you weren't streaming music at lossless levels on your Wi-Fi? You'd probably be listening to Netflix, you know, watching Netflix or YouTube or something, and that uses way more than lossless music uses, right? So, like, the infrastructure to send lossless audio is all around us, and it's easy and convenient now. And now that the technology exists to send lossless audio between your phone and from the cloud service to your phone to your ears, why wouldn't you use it? Like, it shouldn't be something people have to even think about how many, you know, ones and zeros get transmitted between their phone and their earbuds. They should just be able to have things correct and not have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And I think you'll find over time, as more and more people are exposed to better sound and better sound, not just from like lossless is actually just one component of it, right? Like, you can't just have lossless and automatically have great sound. You need to make sure that everything else about your product, you need to make sure your acoustic design, your drivers, you need to make sure the DACs and all those things have of course been, with the upgrade to lossless, the chip companies that make the chips, you know, upgrade the chips to make sure you're not losing anything anywhere along that chain, right? Now I've gotten a bit lost. I've got my notes thing. Oh yeah, the analogy I have is it's kind of like wine. If you give wine to a 20-year-old, they're not gonna appreciate good wine, right? If you've been drinking good wine for the last 10 years, it's pretty hard to step backwards.
That's right.
And I think that's what we're going to see. I think we've already seen that as sound's gotten better and better. You know, particularly streaming sound's gotten better and better, and yeah, we're going to just see that continue as we get to lossless Bluetooth, etc.
Yeah, we'll look back in however many years' time, and we'll think, how could we have done without what we're now able to give people. A couple other questions, I think. Similar question to what we've had from Brady. Will previous products be able to have the type of ANC that we've now got in NuraTrue Pro? My guess is probably not, because of maybe some hardware limitations, but maybe you could speak to that.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is in that category. We talked earlier about anything that we can easily backwards apply to our existing products. We would do that, right? Nuraphone actually does a rudimentary version of adaptive ANC. And this is kind of what's in the NuraTrue Pro is kind of what, you know, people were trying to do, but you know, what we're trying to do with Nuraphone. It's sort of 3 generations later of doing the same thing, right? So it's just works better now. And no, it's not backwards applicable from hardware limitations and things. It's not backwards applicable, unfortunately, to a NuraTrue Pro. A original NuraTrue.
Gotcha. Gerald the Cat said, I think talking to Lossless, he says, the instrumentation with Lossless feels more spread out than Lossy. It's subtle, but it's really nice.
Yeah.
So something, it sounds similar to what you were speaking to earlier.
Yeah. And, different people are more articulate at being able to, my sort of dumb answer, it just sounds cleaner. There's better ways to articulate that.
Yes.
Which I think, Gerald, you've done a really good job with things.
And
it's slightly different for everyone. When they really try to work out what they're hearing different. Different people pick up on the different parts of it, right? But it's there. If you go on the Kickstarter website, we've done something where we got a line from Hotel California, and then we encoded it using basically the same encoder that AirPods use, and then time aligned everything, and then subtracted one from the other, and that lets you hear objectively what's objectively, it's very clear they're very different, right?
Yeah.
And if you look at it on the computer screen or something, it's blindingly obvious that this is not the same thing, right? And that if you go and listen to that on the Kickstarter website, it really lets you understand what's changed, right? And for me, there's a bit where I think it's a maraca or something that comes in about 10 seconds in or something like that, and just hearing how, and like that bit's one bit that I can hear clearly listening from one track to the other. It's it's so clean and precise on the clean, precise, with a clearer spatial representation, and on the compressed version, the AAC version, it's just not there, right?
Missing it. Yeah, that's the thing. When it gets, the quality gets up and up and up, you're realizing what you were missing, and you're hearing all these really cool Easter eggs in the music, different layers. People have been enjoying that ever since just starting, with the Nuraphone and having that experience. So this is just bringing it up even more. It's awesome stuff. Someone's asked, have we considered supporting the SKAA wireless codec at some point? Apparently there's very little latency on that particular codec. Don't know how relevant that is to the NuraTrue Pro, or if it's...
You can, the NuraTrue Pro does support, like all of our, we're talking about the lossless thing, because our primary use case is for you to enjoy the music, for you to get every little drop of feeling out of your music that's possible. And so we've always focused on the high quality, the highest quality Bluetooth bits, right? But they're built into aptX Adaptive is that if you tell your phone to do it, or if you've got the latest Android phones that do this stuff, you can normally have a switch somewhere to say, put me in gaming mode or low latency mode. And so getting very technical here, aptX Adaptive, which aptX Lossless is an extension of, has a high quality mode and a low quality mode. Sorry, high quality mode and a low latency mode. The low latency mode is reduced quality if you think of, if you judge quality as the amount of data transmitted and things like that. However, it does have much reduced latency, right? So if you put it in the aptX Adaptive low latency mode, which on your phone will normally be, say, gaming mode or something like that, then you're looking at in ballpark 80, 90 milliseconds latency. If you're doing multi-point, it is a bit more. It goes up to 105 or something like that if you're doing multi-point. So there's ways you can reduce it a little bit more there. That's good enough for a lot of games on your mobile phone or something like that. That's good enough for. It's not good enough for trying to do music production or first person shooter game on a console or something like that.
Gotcha.
So that's our attempt to get a lower latency.
And that question was from Matt.
And that codec, no, we're not supporting that codec.
And probably not in the future, or at least there's no plans to.
There's no plans.
All good.
Support that, no.
Nice one. That's some great questions so far. I was curious. Why Kickstarter again? I know that's where we started the journey, with the Nuraphone. Why did we go back?
Yeah, so great question. So like we've got products, we've got revenue and things now, so we don't need it to we don't need to raise the money that way. We've gone back to Kickstarter because that's where we started, right? Like we wouldn't exist if Neura would simply not exist if it wasn't for the Kickstarter community. And we're really, really honored and humbled by that. And again, honored and humbled by the reception to the NuraTrue Pro, which has just been phenomenal and above all our expectations. Why do we want to go back there? The Kickstarter community is a community who like having, they like having cool tech, they like having the latest tech, and they like having good quality things that can do things that other products simply can't do yet. I feel like when we talk to our customers are also not the sort of people who just want to say, well, here's your product, here's your next product, what's your next product? They're people who enjoy going on the journey of, how did you make this? What are you making next? How's the progress of what you're working on now? And the Kickstarter platform naturally creates a nice environment where you can take people through the journey of making something rather than just the standard thing, which is you have to tight-lippedly not say anything about anything until the day that you launch it, right? And for us, it's more rewarding to talk about what we're doing.
That's right.
And when we're talking about what we're doing, it opens us up to get feedback early enough in the process that we can get feedback from a wider variety of people earlier in the process that allows us to actually roll some meaningful changes into the product before it's launched or before people get their hands on it. And I think the other thing is we've got a bunch of like pretty hardcore Neura supporters who
do
like basically buy every product, and I don't personally want them having to pay full price, right? So the standard marketing approach would be, okay, you release a new product, you keep that at maximum price for as long as you can, and you start discounting it after 6 months or something like that, which means our most our greatest supporters are then stuck having to pay full price. And if you're buying, from my perspective, if you're buying basically every one of our products when they come out, then I want to give you more value, right? And Kickstarter also has some good mechanisms for that with the super early bird specials, things like that. So if you're watching this today, then if you haven't already gotten onto Kickstarter, then you've missed out on the 40% off super early bird specials, which are around for the first 24 hours. But there's still, I think, 33% discounts that should be there for a few weeks anyway.
Yeah, we'll have someone put a link down to the chat. We can follow through if they haven't already visited. A rough timeline. I know it's probably outlined on the page, but for people on the stream.
Yeah. So we're working to have them shipping in October.
Great, awesome. That's the aim.
And that's there's some fat in there to allow for, well, the world's crazy at the moment. All sorts of things have been going wrong, but with the problems with semiconductor supply, logistics, delays, and pandemics, wars, things like that. It's not necessarily the greatest time to be alive, but so we have factored in these things. We've made sure that we have our things, our ducks teed up on the supply chain side of things, and built a bit of fat in there for some problems to go. Like, there's always some problems to go wrong, so we feel pretty good about actually being able to deliver in October. I think technically on the Kickstarter page we've said early Q4 to just give us a tiny bit of fudge if something else goes wrong.
Sure. Yeah, I'm pretty confident. I think the product team are veterans with this sort of stuff now.
It's been a lot smoother process with previous pre-sales we've done, where we've almost taken the idea to like with Nuraphone, we took the idea and 3D printed prototypes to journalists and to Kickstarter, right? Like this time we've got over 200 of these made and imminently making another couple of hundred.
These work.
These are fully functional. These are not these are not aesthetic prototypes, right? It's one of the ones we're using for the alpha testing. It's been cleaned up a bit, so it's not actually a brand new one. So like we're a lot further along the product development process than we have been in for previous products.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because we've leveraged so much of what already worked about NuraTrue, we just normally when you make a new product, you run into all sorts of problems with little bits of plastic here and there that are slightly the wrong shape, or you have some scuffing on the plastic coming out of the tool or something like that, or like your test fixtures just don't quite fit and you need to have them remade 3 times. And we just haven't had any of those problems because we're leveraging so much of what already worked about NuraTrue, and that's really what's made it possible for us to bring this product with this absolutely latest tech to market faster than anyone else actually. So.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a master plan, but it was definitely a good plan.
It was actually teed up well in advance. So we wanted to take what was good about NuraTrue, add a specific set of improvements to it. We did. The first half of the development was done on the predecessor to this chip, and so that we could progress the mechanical and acoustic designs without waiting for the final chip that this currently uses. Without that actually being available yet, we're already able to get all the basically the rest of the design sorted, and then it was really as soon as we got these new chips, very quickly swapping over the it's actually relatively minor changes even on the electronic side, because it's the next version of the same chip. So there's some small changes, but it's it's actually been the smoothest product I've developed, despite being by far the most advanced and I think by far the best, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we were happy with most of it, and we've had some like surprising improvements along the way there as well, like particularly with that driver, that new modifications to the driver. That new driver is actually better. Also had some found a couple of ways to make the antenna a bit better as well, like 4 or 5 dB better, which is in RF terms, that's huge. That's really good, right? It's partly from the new chip and partly from a slightly improved antenna, and mostly the antenna on the NuraTrue is fine, right? It's really good that we've been able to step that up even further, right?
Even further, yeah. All these improvements in all the different areas, giving a broader, much better experience, I think. Yeah.
And just gives you more overhead if you go into a really if you go to a crowded train station or something like that, where there's less suboptimal Bluetooth environment. It's just got more overhead, more to keep it working before you hear glitches and things like that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like I've never heard a glitch from it. Like
never, yeah. No, neither I actually. In the time I've spent testing it, everyone's been really impressed. Masha says again, I love that we're going on Kickstarter. Great place to provide feedback, ask questions, give ideas. That's right. We are absolutely responding to all your questions on Kickstarter as well. So, if you're on there, you have any questions, pop them on through there. Absolutely. On the early bird pledges, we've run out of the 40% pledges. Unfortunately, I'm very sorry, but there are more pledges at slightly lesser discounts still there. There's a whole bunch still there.
So for new players to Kickstarter, you can still occasionally get a 40% one, right? So occasionally people change their mind and cancel their pledge, and when that happens, you'll see one new one appear at the lower pledge level, right? So I'm set up so I get an email notification when it happens, and it's happened 3 times today. So you'll be sitting there a long time refreshing. So I'm not recommending it necessarily, but if you really want to try to get back on the 40% one, then it is technically possible.
It's technically possible. I didn't know that. So there you go. There's still hope for you yet. Hang in there.
I remember we had one player during the original Nuraphone campaign who managed to take themselves from it wasn't quite full price, but the highest price tier. They managed to work themselves down in 3 steps to the.
They got the full one.
I'm not sure if they quite got to the super elevator, right? They definitely got themselves down a couple of steps, right? Actually, don't do that. It's a pain in the ass for us. But anyway, it's possible. Yeah.
Yeah. We're just about out of time. We're just about at an hour. That went really quickly. So NuraTrue Pro out later this year, probably shipping around October. Probably things are looking really well. Yeah, this has been a special one. Luke Campbell and Luke Burns, the two Lukes.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks
Guess
for
we're
your time.
signing off. Thanks,
Yeah.
guys. Thanks, Luke, and thanks to everyone who's been hitting up the chat.
Yeah.